Hello, Carrots here. Welcome to the tutorial on adding a staircase inside an existing foundation. This is my testing Sims. I need 2 pets, including a large dog, to make sure that the dogs and the cats can use the staircases. If you don't have pets, well then ignore the dogs and cats because you don't need to worry about them. I should have added that the Sims look a bit zombie-like because I've got everything that will allow them autonomy turned off, so they will just stand there and stare into space unless I tell them to do something. I've set up a nice little house for them downstairs though, and I'll send them down there to eat and sleep while we're not using them. The thing I do whenever I start building something new is I use the terrain tool to flatten the lot, and then to make sure the lot stays flat, I cover it with a tile of the free timber or the free wood, because it's all the wood that I'm putting on here now will go when the house is finished. But it's just there to make sure that the ground doesn't warp on us when we're putting walls on it. It does happen sometimes if you just build straight onto the terrain that you're left with after you flatten the lot. So it costs nothing and it saves a lot of tears and headaches later on. Another benefit, if you're starting out a brand new game, the portal that takes you to the future will find a different lot if you've got that wood tiles placed immediately. Before we start, we need to know about the cheats. There's 2 cheat codes you will need to use. The first one is testing cheats enabled true. You do Control-Shift-C to get the cheat box up, then you type in testing cheats enabled true, then hit enter. Now you'll leave that on, and it doesn't matter if you don't turn it off at all throughout the entire game, but you can turn it off again at the end of the project if you want to. But the other cheat that you need to know is the main cheat that makes this whole process work, and it won't be recognised by the game unless you've got the testing cheats enabled true turned on already. If you make a typo or you have not got testing cheats enabled true turned on, you will get this error message when you hit enter after typing in ConstrainFloorElevation false or ConstrainFloorElevation true. We will need to turn ConstrainFloorElevation true and false on and off regularly throughout the process, so just leave testing cheats enabled true on throughout the whole process as well. I'll tell you when you need to change the state of the ConstrainFloorElevation sheet. Whenever you're using ConstrainFloorElevation false, always make sure you turn it to ConstrainFloorElevation true before you continue playing your game, or you will have problems. The grid is important. It will help you get through this whole process. Just keep an eye on it and always make sure you get it back to being completely level and with one tile all around the outside of the build. Now let's build the house. It's going to be very basic. Here's the lot with the wood covering the terrain, and I'm just going to add a foundation to start with because we want to have this inside the foundation. I'm not going to furnish the house or put internal rooms. I want to keep it as simple as possible, but we will cover the entire floor area with the foundation and then treat it as though it was an existing build. We're going to need flooring, so I'll just add a random free wood floor to start with a different colour from the flooring that I've used, cover the entire lot. This will be replaced later on when the house gets decorated. Then I add my front steps and I put walls up. Now I'm going to add a set of steps to the back right hand corner of the build. So I'll remove some floor tiles and some foundation to make way for the steps, and you can see the foundation is now gone. We're down to the timber that's covering the lot. Now I've got the steps 2 tiles wide because I've got a big dog, and you need a minimum of 2 tiles wide for the dogs, otherwise they get stuck. That pale blue area is the basement. We need to add a wall around where the foundation was, but it's covered by floor tile. This is where we need to make ConstrainFloorElevation false. So we enter the cheat and hit enter. Control-Shift-C to get the sheet window up, then type in ConstrainFloorElevation false. Hit enter, and then we can draw in the wall that we need to replace the foundation. Now when you've got the wall in, pull back and have a look at the grid and see just how it looks. As you can see, it's high on the right-hand side and low on the left-hand side. Now, the reason you can't get steps into the foundation is because the grid needs to be high everywhere. To add steps, you must have ConstrainFloorElevation True. But when I do that, I get the message, can't add it into a foundation. Fortunately, the solution is quite simple. We turn ConstrainFloorElevation false on, and then we go up a level and we fix the grid to make sure that it's all high enough and flat enough to allow the steps to be placed. Add the extra wall along on the inside beside the steps so that the Sims will have an enclosed area to walk down into. And now you can see the problem. See the V that's appeared at the end of the steps? That is why you can't put the steps into the basement. You need to use the level terrain tool to fix this problem. So you go into build mode, click on your terrain tools, and then click on level terrain. And you need to do this process every time you change level. You've got to click your terrain tools again each time. The problem that we've got at the moment is there's no square visible for us to click onto at the right height. So we're going to have to do something to fix that. Drop back down to ground level and put a little diagonal wall in that corner there. And now go back up. That's it. Now you can see you've got a square there that we can level terrain from. And we will fix this in no time. There it is. Now we have got an area that will allow us to put the steps into the foundation. See how flat it is on top? Now that V's gone now and it's up at proper ceiling height. We're ready to add the steps to the foundation, into the basement now from the ground level. And so we need ConstrainFloorElevation True, otherwise the steps will just dig a hole in the floor. And there they go, straight in, no problems. Now we've got to tidy up the levels above so they're all at the right level. So we have ConstrainFloorElevation false again. And you need to go back and use your terrain tools. You click on the terrain tool menu and then choose level terrain. And then we go to the level that the ground floor is on, the top of the foundation. Each time you change the floor that you're working with, you need to refresh your terrain tool and go all the way across using the grids that go on the outside of the building just to make sure the whole thing is the same level. And then you need to do ConstrainFloorElevation True, and you're safe to get rid of that little corner wall that you put in that. And then you can put your flooring in all the way across to the edge, and you can put another wall up to this level as well. You need to make those two tile width available for your Sims to walk down, but you can put a wall along there just like that. And now it's ready for testing. We're going to paint it first. We don't want our Sims getting an unfinished room moodlet. Might as well paint the bottom of the foundation there as well. Sometimes when you fiddle around with things like this, you might need to replace the steps. And I'm talking about that little set of steps up the top. If you have to replace the steps that go down into the basement, well then you're going to go through all the problems with your ConstrainFloorElevation, and you'll have to repeat the whole process. Now she doesn't want to go down those steps. Let's see if they're broken. Yep, those steps are broken. So we will just replace them, and that should solve the problem. Just make sure the foot of the steps is level as well. That looks good. If it wasn't level, it would have had red squares, but they were because we've got ConstrainFloorElevation True again now. Let's just put the steps back. Make sure they're 2 steps wide so the big dog can get down them. And we see how we've got extra squares between the 2 sets of steps. That's how if the dog wants to turn around, it's got room to do that. Yes, she can use the steps now. Hopefully the ones to the basement work. Yes, there she goes. And of course, just because she can go down doesn't mean she can come up again. So we'll test that as well. But we'll get the dog and the cat to go down. This is why we have testing Sims. Because you see, we could have just said that house was finished, put it up on the internet, on the exchange, and people can be complaining because their Sims can't walk down the steps. So you've got to test. That's why we have testing Sims. He's complaining about something, but he is able to use the steps. So I don't know what he's complaining about. Get him out of the way so the cat can come down now. Cat's got no problems with the first set of steps. And no problems with the second set. So we can all go down all of the steps. Now let's all go up again. Now I want the dog to go down that first set of steps at the top and then turn around to make sure that he's not going to get stuck on that landing. Yes, he's got no trouble turning around. Just in case you're still here, I'll quickly whack another set of steps into this middle of the house. First, we will clear a few tiles to make space for the steps. This could be a very simple exercise or it could be quite painful. We'll just see what happens. Doesn't want to just flop in. I wonder why that is. Maybe the ceiling's too low upstairs. It is inside a foundation after all. Let's fix the problem. ConstrainFloorElevation false. Once you're familiar with this, you'll just work out your own ways of doing things. Yes, you need to take out the tiles around to get rid of the foundation for one tile width all around where your steps are going to go. But that was good because look, it just popped straight up. We've got a flat area above the steps, so we shouldn't need to do any leveling at this point. Just go down and put the steps in. That should work. Get another copy of those same steps. Turn them around. We on ConstrainFloorElevation True now, by the way. We can't put steps in with ConstrainFloorElevation false. Although we can, and I can show you that in another tutorial. But it's a special case. Now the steps are in and they've placed successfully on the first attempt because that area above was all nicely raised up evenly and flat across the top. We'll put a wall in here now that will replace the foundation, so when the Sims walk down those steps they will think they're just walking straight through. They don't see all the mess that would have been there. Now we need to tidy up the floor above where they're going to be walking. We don't want them having to climb that mountain. Get the cheat box up, Control-Shift-C, ConstrainFloorElevation false, and we will now get that all down to the same level because that's the foundation area that's popped up high there and we want that just to be the right height for the foundation. We've put our wall in that's surrounding the steps and that would be it. Now we'll just tidy up above here on the floor level. We've got some tiles missing. Now we need Control-Shift-C to get the cheat window open and then type in ConstrainFloorElevation True so we can fix up those missing tiles on the floor around the steps. And then I'll put a half wall in around that opening so the Sims don't fall down. Not that Sims do fall down, but it looks nicer if you've got something around there, I think. You don't have to put it there if you don't want it. You just need to go up and check that it hasn't messed up the roof or any of the levels above, because quite often it will. It's all looking good now. And now when you go up to the next level, at the moment that's all nice and flat, but sometimes when you come up to this next level up, you'll see it's all wonky and it needs to go into ConstrainFloorElevation false and flatten it again. Just like that. It doesn't need flattening this time, but sometimes it's really strangely warped. And you just do that for each level that is above, just to make sure it's all nice and tidy. And then it's done. I didn't have a roof on this one. I might stick a roof on now just for fun, because after all we usually have a roof. I'll now get rid of that timber around the yard. We don't want the whole lot covered by timber. Control-Shift and Delete will get rid of that in one fell swoop. I didn't get windows in this house. We weren't going to live in it. Have a quick peek downstairs. Well, thank you for watching the video. I do hope you've got something useful out of it, and if you did, please give it a like. And if you'd like to make sure you see any new videos that I make and you haven't subscribed, well then hit that subscribe button and the bell to make sure you get notified. So bye bye for now and thank you for watching. This is just a quick peek around downstairs. Not really part of the tutorial, just so you can see what I did. I'm not used to playing with Sims that have got no freedom. I always have free will on full for everything, and I'm not accustomed to them letting them pee themselves or get starving hungry and that sort of thing, because my Sims always just look after themselves. That's why I can have such huge households. I'd get very frustrated very fast working with Sims that just stand there and wait for me to tell them what to do. Another view of inside their living area, and some images from some other tutorials you might be interested that use the CFE cheat. This is building a multi-level house into the side of a hill, and that's a finished house that I did